The discovery, the coffee had gone cold 3 hours ago, but Dr. Maya Chen barely noticed as she stared at the cascading data on her screen, her fingers flying across the holographic interface. Outside the observation window of Research Station Osiris, the unnamed planet below glowed with strange atmospheric storms that painted the darkness in shades of violet and silver. "You're still here," a voice said from the doorway. Maya didn't need to turn around to recognize Captain Alex Morgan's tone, that perfect blend of authority and concern that made her heart do inconvenient things. "The readings are impossible," she said, gesturing at her display. "This energy signature, it's biological, but it's also something else entirely, something we've never encountered before." Alex moved closer, close enough that she could smell the faint scent of his cologne, mixed with the recycled air of the station. "Maya, you've been at this for 16 hours straight. The data will still be impossible after you've slept." "Will it, though?" She turned to face him, and immediately regretted it because he'd loosened his uniform collar and his hair was slightly mussed, in a way that made him look less like a commanding officer and more like someone she wanted to reach out and touch. "What if this is the discovery, Alex? The one that changes everything we know about life in the universe?" His dark eyes searched her face with an intensity that had nothing to do with xenobiology. "And what if it's dangerous?" he asked quietly. "What if I can't protect you down there?" The words hung between them, loaded with meaning that extended far beyond professional concern. They'd been dancing around this thing between them for months now, ever since she'd arrived on the station with her stack of degrees and her inability to follow protocol when science was involved. "I need someone I trust," Maya said, holding his gaze. "I need you to authorize a reconnaissance mission. Just a small team in and out. Maya, please." Alex, the way she said his name, soft and urgent, made something shift in his expression. He moved closer, reaching past her to pull up the planetary scan data, but his arm brushed against hers and neither of them moved away. "Show me what you found," he said. For the next hour, they stood shoulder to shoulder, analyzing the mysterious readings. The energy signature pulsed from a specific location in the northern hemisphere, a region thick with bioluminescent vegetation that created natural light shows visible from orbit. "It's almost like—" Maya paused, trying to find the right words, like someone calling out, or warning us away, Alex countered. But his tone had softened. "Since when did you become such a pessimist?" "Captain, since I started caring whether my xenobiologist makes it back from her expeditions." The confession was quiet, but unmistakable. Maya felt her breath catch as she turned to look at him properly. In the dim light of the lab, with the planet's glow casting shadows across his face, Alex looked at her like she was the real discovery. "Alex," she whispered. "I know," he said, and there was regret in his voice. "Regulations, chain of command, all the very good reasons why this can't happen. But I'm authorizing your mission," he finished, stepping back and putting professional distance between them once more. "We leave at 600, full safety protocols, and Maya, if anything happens down there, nothing will happen. Promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you'll come back." The way he looked at her in that moment, like she was precious and irreplaceable, made Maya's throat tight with emotion. "I promise," she said, and meant it with everything in her. As Alex left to prepare the mission briefing, Maya turned back to her screen where the mysterious energy signature continued its rhythmic pulsing. Something was waiting for them down on that planet, something that would change everything. She just didn't know yet how right she was, or how much she'd have to risk to protect what they would find. Outside, the planet continued its silent rotation, keeping its secrets close while the storm patterns danced across its atmosphere like a heartbeat, like a call, like a promise of discoveries that would test every rule they'd ever sworn to follow. First contact, the landing pod cut through the atmosphere with a scream of protest, warning lights flashing across the console as Alex fought to keep them steady. Maya gripped her harness, watching through the view screen as the bioluminescent forest rose up to meet them, glowing in shades of blue and green and something else, something purple that pulsed in rhythm with the energy signature she'd detected from orbit. "Brace for impact," Alex called out. They hit hard, the pod bouncing twice before settling into the soft earth of the alien forest floor. For a moment, everything was silent except for their breathing and the gentle hum of the cooling engines. "Everyone okay?" James called from the back, Running diagnostics on their suits alive, Maya confirmed. Already releasing her harness. Alex, I'm good, he said. But she saw him wince as he moved his shoulder. That was rougher than expected. They emerged from the pod into a world that stole Maya's breath away. The forest was alive with light, every plant and tree pulsing with its own internal glow, creating patterns that danced across the ground like liquid starlight. The air tasted sweet and strange, filtered through their helmets but still carrying hints of something floral and electric. Readings are off the scale, James reported, scanning the area with his equipment. Whatever's generating that signature, it's close, maybe 100 meters north. They moved through the forest single file, Alex taking point with Maya close behind him. She couldn't stop staring at everything, cataloging species she'd never seen, growth patterns that defied standard botanical classification, an entire ecosystem that seemed to operate on principles they'd barely begun to understand. Then Maya saw her, and the entire universe narrowed to that single moment. She stood between two massive trees, partially obscured by the hanging vines that glowed with soft purple light. Her skin was the color of deep amethyst, smooth and luminescent, catching and reflecting the forest's glow like polished stone. She was tall, elegant, with features that were both alien and somehow achingly familiar, as if evolution had taken a different path but arrived at the same destination. Hold position, Alex ordered quietly, raising his hand. But the purple woman had already seen them. Her eyes, large and dark with flecks of silver that caught the light, fixed on Maya with an intensity that made her feel exposed and understood all at once. She didn't run or show fear, just tilted her head slightly as if trying to solve a puzzle. I'm going to approach, Maya said. Negative, Alex replied immediately. We follow protocol, we observe first, Alex. Look at her, she's not afraid, she's curious. We might never get another chance like this. Their eyes met, and in that moment, 1,000 unspoken things passed between them. Trust and fear and something deeper that neither of them had named yet. Stay behind me, Alex finally said, his voice rough. And Maya, if anything goes wrong, I know. They moved forward together, and the purple woman watched them approach. She wore something that might have been clothing or might have been part of her skin, flowing patterns that shifted like oil on water. As they got closer, Maya could see her breathing, the rise and fall of her chest, the slight tremor in her hands that suggested she was nervous despite her calm exterior. Hello, Maya said softly, knowing the translator in her suit would attempt to convert the words into something comprehensible. We come in peace, we mean no harm. The woman's eyes widened slightly. She took a step forward, then another, moving with a grace that made Maya think of dancers or predators or something in between. When she was close enough to touch, she stopped and raised her hand palm out, fingers spread in a gesture that needed no translation. She wants to make contact, Maya breathed. Absolutely not, Alex said, moving to position himself between them. We don't know what could happen. Disease, contamination, or communication, Maya interrupted gently. Alex, this is why we're here. This is the moment that matters. She could see the war playing out behind his eyes. Duty versus discovery. Protection versus progress. His feelings for her versus his responsibility to keep her safe. Finally, he stepped aside, but his hand went to the weapon at his belt, ready to intervene if needed. Maya removed her glove slowly, watching the purple woman's face for any sign of distress. When her bare hand was exposed to the alien air, she raised it and pressed her palm against the woman's extended hand. The connection was instant and overwhelming. Images flooded Maya's mind, not words but pure feeling and memory. A planet dying, a desperate search, something precious lost and desperately needed. She felt the woman's loneliness like a physical weight, centuries of isolation and grief compressed into a single moment of contact. Maya. Alex's voice sounded distant, worried, but she couldn't pull away, not yet, because now the woman was inside her mind too, exploring her memories with gentle curiosity, finding the moments that mattered, her first glimpse of the stars, her parents' faces, the way her heart raced every time Alex looked at her with those dark, intense eyes. The woman's expression shifted, softened, and Maya felt something like understanding pass between them. When they finally broke contact, Maya stumbled backward and Alex caught her immediately, his arms strong and sure around her waist. What happened? He demanded. What did you see? She's searching for something, Maya said. still dizzy from the mental connection. Something vital in Alex. She's been alone for so long. The purple woman watched them with those silver-flecked eyes, and for the first time she smiled. A small, sad expression that somehow transcended species. The Forbidden Connection Commander Sarah Cooper's office was all sharp angles and regulation furniture, designed to intimidate and maintain proper military hierarchy. Maya stood at attention, trying not to fidget under Sarah's cold stare while Alex remained stone-faced beside her. "Let me make sure I understand," Sarah said, her voice dripping with controlled fury. "You brought an unclassified alien entity aboard this station, into our quarantine bay, without proper authorization or safety protocols. We followed every procedure," Alex started, but Sarah cut him off with a raised hand. "You followed your feelings, Captain Morgan, not your training. This creature could be carrying unknown pathogens, could be hostile, could be any number of threats to this station and its crew." "Her name is Kira," Maya interjected quietly. "I don't care if her name is Empress of the Galaxy," Sarah snapped. "In 6 hours, a military transport arrives to take custody of the alien. You will provide all research data and samples." "Am I clear, Sarah, please?" Maya stepped forward. "If you could just see her, talk to her, you'd understand. She's not a threat. She's dying. Her whole species is dying, and we might be the only ones who can help. That's not our mission." "Since when is discovery not our mission?" Maya shot back, her frustration boiling over. "We're scientists. We're supposed to seek out new life. Understand it, not lock it away in some military laboratory." Sarah's expression hardened. "You're dismissed, Dr. Chen, Captain Morgan. I suggest you both remember your oaths and your duty to this station." Outside the office, Alex grabbed Maya's arm gently, steering her into an empty corridor. "Maya, we need to be smart about this." "Smart?" She pulled away from him, angry tears threatening. "What's smart about abandoning someone who needs our help? What's smart about letting bureaucracy and fear win?" "I'm not saying I agree with Sarah," Alex said, his voice low and urgent. "But we can't just ignore the chain of command. There are procedures. Damn the procedures." "Alex," Maya interrupted, and suddenly all the tension between them, all the unspoken feelings and careful professionalism, came crashing down. "When did you become the kind of person who hides behind regulations instead of doing what's right?" The accusation hung in the air between them, sharp and painful. Alex's jaw tightened, and for a moment Maya thought he'd walk away. Instead, he moved closer, backing her against the corridor wall, his hands on either side of her head, caging her in. "You think I don't care," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "You think I want to hand Kira over to people who'll treat her like a lab specimen? I'm trying to protect you, Maya. I'm trying to keep you from destroying your career over this. Maybe some things are worth destroying your career for," she whispered, looking up at him. They were too close, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his body. "Maya." He breathed her name like a prayer. "I have to go check on Kira," she said, but didn't move. Neither did he, and for one breathless moment, Maya thought he might kiss her right there in the corridor. Regulations and consequences be damned. But Alex was too disciplined, too bound by his own sense of duty, so he stepped back and let her go. The quarantine bay was dimly lit, designed to be sterile and unwelcoming. Kira sat in the center of the containment field, her purple skin seeming to glow less brightly than it had on the planet. She looked up when Maya entered, and even without touching, Maya could feel her sadness. "I'm so sorry," Maya said, pressing her hand against the containment field. "I brought you here thinking we could help." But now Kira stood and moved to mirror Maya's position, her palm against the field opposite Maya's hand. The barrier prevented physical contact, but Maya felt a faint echo of their earlier connection. Images of trust and understanding, of hope despite everything. "We're going to figure this out," Maya promised. "I won't let them take you." Behind her, the door slid open. Maya turned, expecting security, but it was James, looking nervously over his shoulder. "I might have a solution to your problem," he said quietly, "but it involves doing something incredibly stupid and probably illegal." "I'm listening," Maya replied immediately. James glanced at Kira, then back to Maya. "My sister Sarah, she's by the book, but I'm not. There's a maintenance shaft that bypasses the main security grid, leads to the lower docking bay where supply pods come in. If someone were to, hypothetically, help Kira reach her ship, Maya interrupted. We never found a ship. That's because she hid it, James said, pulling up a holographic map. I've been analyzing the energy signatures from the planet. There's a cloaked vessel in orbit, small, personal-sized. Kira's been masking its signature, probably afraid we'd confiscate it. Maya looked at Kira, who was watching them with those intelligent silver-flecked eyes. You have a ship, she said softly. You could leave. Go somewhere safe. Kira pressed both hands against the containment field, and Maya felt the wave of complex emotion, fear and hope and desperate need. Not just to escape, but to complete her mission. Whatever that mission was. We'd need help, James continued. Someone with command access to override the security protocols. Someone willing to risk everything, Alex. Maya breathed. Can you convince him? James asked. Maya thought about the moment in the corridor, about the way Alex had looked at her like she was the most important thing in his universe, about the conflict she'd seen in his eyes between duty and what he knew was right. Yes, she said with more confidence than she felt. Yes, I can convince him later that night. Maya found Alex in the observation deck, staring out at the planet below. She came to stand beside him close enough that their shoulders almost touched. I need you to trust me, she said quietly. I do trust you. That's the problem. Then help me save her. Help me do what we both know is right, even if it means breaking every rule they've given us. Alex turned to look at her, and in his eyes, Maya saw the exact moment he made his decision. The moment he chose her, chose what was right, over everything else. Tell me the plan, he said, and Maya's heart soared even as she realized what this would cost them both. The choice. The maintenance shaft was exactly as cramped and uncomfortable as James had warned, filled with exposed conduits and recycled air that smelled faintly of machine oil and desperation. Maya crawled ahead of Alex, her hands shaking slightly as they navigated through the station's infrastructure, with Kira moving silently behind them. Security sweep passes through Sector 7 in 90 seconds. James's voice crackled through their comm units. You need to reach Junction Point Delta before then. Copy that, Alex whispered, his military training evident in his calm efficiency, despite the fact that they were committing what could charitably be called treason. They emerged into a secondary corridor, deserted at this hour of the station's night cycle. Kira's purple skin seemed to glow brighter in the dim emergency lighting, her movements fluid and graceful even in this unfamiliar environment. She'd covered herself with one of Maya's lab coats, which looked absurd and endearing at the same time. The docking bay is 2 levels down, Alex said, consulting his tactical display. But there's a problem. I'm showing 4 security personnel stationed at the main entrance. More than usual. Sarah knows. Maya realized with a sinking feeling. She knows we'd try something. Alex's jaw tightened. Then we find another way. There is no other way, James cut in, sounding stressed. That's the only access point to the lower docking bay. Unless, he paused. Unless you go outside. Outside, Maya repeated, as in spacewalk. The external maintenance hatch is accessible from your position, James explained rapidly. You could suit up, make your way along the station's hull to the docking bay's external door. I can override it from here, but you'd have maybe 30 seconds before the system flags the anomaly. Alex and Maya exchanged glances, and she saw her own fear reflected in his eyes. But beneath the fear was something else. Determination and the peculiar intimacy of 2 people who'd decided to face the impossible together. Do it, Alex said. The airlock seemed smaller with 3 of them crowded inside, and Maya's heart hammered as she helped Kira into an emergency suit. Their hands touched during the process, skin to skin for just a moment, and Maya felt that now familiar rush of shared emotion, Kira's gratitude and fear and desperate hope all flooding through her. I've got you, Maya whispered, securing Kira's helmet. We're almost there. Then it was her turn to suit up, and Alex helped her, his hands steady and sure as he checked each seal and connection. When he secured her helmet, his fingers lingered for just a moment on her faceplate, and through the reinforced glass, his eyes met hers. If anything goes wrong, he started. Nothing will go wrong, Maya, I need you to know. He paused, choosing his words carefully even though they were on an open comm channel that James could hear. I need you to know that this helping Kira being here with you, it's the rightest thing I've ever done. Her throat tightened with emotion. Alex, 30 seconds until the security sweep hits your sector, James interrupted urgently. You need to go now. The airlock door opened onto the vast darkness of space, and Maya's breath caught despite all her training. The station's hull stretched out before them, a plain of metal and composite materials with the planet glowing far below, and the stars spread out in all directions like scattered diamonds. Alex went first, his magnetic boots clanking softly against the hull, then turned to help Maya through. His hand gripped hers tightly, steadying her, and even through their gloves, she felt the connection between them, stronger than gravity, more real than all the regulations they were breaking. Kira emerged last, and Maya saw her freeze, her whole body going rigid as she looked out at the infinite universe. Kira, Maya said gently, are you okay? Through their connected helmets, Maya heard a sound that might have been laughter or might have been a sob. Kira spread her arms wide, and for a moment, she looked like she was embracing the cosmos itself, her purple skin glowing against the backdrop of stars. Beautiful. Kira's voice came through the translator, rough but clear. I had forgotten beautiful. They moved along the hull with aching slowness, each step deliberate and careful. The docking bay's external entrance appeared ahead, a massive circular door marked with warning lights and safety protocols they were about to completely ignore. James, we're in position, Alex reported. Overriding now, James replied, and they could hear the tension in his voice. And just so you know, Sarah's on her way to the quarantine bay. When she finds Kira missing, how long do we have? Alex interrupted. Minutes, maybe less. The door began to cycle open, revealing the dimly lit interior of the docking bay. Inside, among the supply pods and maintenance equipment, Maya could now see what she'd missed before, a ship that shouldn't have been there. Small and organic looking, its hull the same purple as Kira's skin, as if it had grown rather than been built. They climbed inside the airlock and waited impatiently for it to cycle. The moment the interior door opened, Kira rushed forward, running toward her ship with an urgency that spoke of desperate need. She pressed her hands against its hull, and the ship responded, its surface rippling like water, patterns of light flowing across it like a heartbeat returning. It's alive, Maya breathed. All our ships live, Kira said, turning back to them, grown from the same trees as the archive, connected to our world's final memory. The archive, Maya repeated, suddenly understanding. That's what you've been searching for. Not just any artifact, but the genetic legacy of your entire species. Kira nodded, and even through her helmet, Maya could see tears on her face. Last seeds, last hope, hidden when the dying began, but I forget. Forget where I hid. Too long alone. Memories fade. Alex stepped forward. We'll help you find it, he said firmly. Maya and I will help you search. No, Kira interrupted gently. You have helped enough, more than enough, given me hope when I had none. Reminded me what it means to not be alone. She looked at Maya specifically, and even without touching, Maya felt the depth of Kira's gratitude. You are Bridgewalker, Kira said. Bridge between species, between dying and living. You will do great things, Maya Chin. Behind them, the docking bay doors were opening, security forces flooding in with weapons raised. Sarah was at the front, her face a mask of cold fury. Stand down, she commanded. All of you, stand down immediately. Alex moved to position himself between Sarah and Kira, his hand going to his sidearm. The air crackled with tension, one wrong move away from violence. Please, Maya said, stepping forward with her hands raised. Commander Cooper, just let her go. She's not a threat. She's the last of her people and she's just trying to survive. The law is clear, Sarah replied. The law isn't always right, Alex countered, and Maya heard the finality in his voice, the sound of a man who'd made his choice and would stand by it regardless of the cost. For a long moment, Sarah stared at her brother James, who'd emerged from the shadows, then at Alex and Maya, and finally at Kira standing before her strange, beautiful ship. Something flickered across Sarah's face, some brief window into the person beneath the commander. You have 60 seconds, she said quietly. After that, I was never here and neither were you. Do I make myself clear? Kira didn't waste time questioning the gift. She moved to her ship's entrance, which opened like a mouth, organic and welcoming. But before she entered, she turned back to Maya and removed her glove. "Please," Kira said, extending her hand. Maya understood immediately. She removed her own glove and pressed her palm against Kira's, and in that final moment of connection, Kira shared something precious: coordinates. Not just spatial, but temporal and emotional. The exact moment and place where she'd hidden the archive, entrusted now to Maya's memory, because perhaps someday they would meet again. When they broke contact, Maya was crying and Kira was smiling that sad, beautiful smile. "Thank you," Kira said simply. "Thank you for reminding me that universes are not meant to be traveled alone." Her ship lifted silently, impossibly. And then she was gone, disappearing into the vast darkness beyond the station, carrying with her hope for her species and the memory of humans who'd chosen compassion over protocol. Sarah looked at Alex and Maya, her expression unreadable. "You're both confined to quarters pending formal review," she said. But there was something in her voice that sounded almost like respect. "Captain Morgan, your command codes are suspended, Dr. Chen. Your research privileges are revoked." "Worth it," Maya said immediately, and beside her, Alex nodded. "Yeah," he agreed quietly. "Worth it." Bridge between stars. 3 weeks later, Maya stood in what had been her laboratory, packing the last of her personal items into a storage container. The formal review had been predictably brutal, resulting in her dismissal from the station and Alex's demotion from command, stripped of his rank and reassigned to supply coordination on a mining outpost in the outer territories. She should have been devastated, but every time Maya closed her eyes, she saw Kira's ship disappearing into the stars, remembered the feeling of making a choice that mattered, and couldn't bring herself to regret anything. "They're ready for us," Alex said from the doorway. He looked different in civilian clothes, less rigid somehow, as if removing the uniform had freed something in him. They'd been given 12 hours to leave the station. Their careers destroyed, their futures uncertain. But when he looked at her, Maya saw no regret in his eyes, only a quiet determination. "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied, closing the container. The transport shuttle was cramped and outdated, the kind of civilian vessel that made the journey to the nearest trade hub in 3 days instead of 3 hours. They settled into their seats side by side, and as the shuttle disengaged from the station, Maya watched Osiris and the planet below shrink into the distance. "Any regrets?" Alex asked quietly. "Only that we didn't break more rules," Maya replied, and was rewarded with his rare smile. For the first hour, they sat in comfortable silence, watching stars stream past the viewport. But as the adrenaline of the past weeks began to fade, reality settled in around them, heavier and more complex than they'd anticipated. "I don't know what happens now," Maya admitted. "I don't know where we go or what we do." "We," Alex repeated. And there was something vulnerable in the way he said it. "Is there a we, Maya?" She turned to look at him properly, taking in the strong lines of his face, the way his dark eyes searched hers for answers. "I'd like there to be," she said softly. "If you want that too." "Want it," Alex laughed. But it was a sound edged with something raw. "Maya, I've wanted it since the first day you walked onto my station and started challenging every decision I made. I've wanted it through every regulation I quoted, and every professional boundary I enforced, pretending I didn't feel what I felt." "Then why didn't you say something?" "Because I was afraid," he admitted. "Afraid of breaking the rules, afraid of compromising your career, afraid that if I reached for you I'd lose everything I'd built." Maya reached out and took his hand, threading her fingers through his. "And now I've already lost it," Alex said, squeezing her hand gently. "And the strange thing is, sitting here with you, I don't feel like I've lost anything at all. I feel like I finally found what I was supposed to be looking for." The words hung in the air between them, honest and unguarded, stripped of all the professional distance they'd maintained for so long. Maya felt her heart racing, felt the weight of possibility and promise. "Alex," she whispered. He leaned toward her slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. But Maya didn't want to pull away. She'd spent too long being careful, being professional, denying what she felt. When his lips finally met hers, it was gentle and tentative at first. A question asked and answered, then deeper, more certain, as if they were both claiming something they should have claimed long ago. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alex rested his forehead against hers. "I should have done that months ago," he murmured. We had our reasons. Bad reasons, he corrected. Fear dressed up as duty, Maya smiled, her hand coming up to cup his cheek. Well, we don't have those excuses anymore. They spent the next 2 days of the journey learning each other. Not just physically, though, there was that too. Stolen kisses and careful touches in the privacy of their shared cabin, but emotionally. All the conversations they'd never allowed themselves to have. Dreams and fears and the quiet hopes they'd kept hidden. On the 3rd day, as they approached the trade hub, Maya's personal console chirped with an incoming message. She activated it, expecting perhaps a final communication from James or news of their reassignment. But instead, the screen filled with coordinates and a single word in a language the translator struggled with before finally rendering as, "Remember, it's from Kira," Maya breathed. Her heart racing, Alex leaned over to look at the display. "Those coordinates, they're in the Epsilon sector." "Uncharted space, not uncharted," Maya corrected, pulling up the data Kira had shared during their final contact. "That's where she hid the archive. She's telling us where to find it." They looked at each other, and Maya could see the same wild hope in Alex's eyes that she felt building in her chest. "We're unemployed," she pointed out. "Disgraced, broke, and have absolutely no authority to launch any kind of expedition." "True," Alex agreed. "We also have no ship, no crew, no funding, and no legitimate reason to go herring off into uncharted space." "But," Maya prompted. "But," Alex's smile turned almost mischievous. "I know a guy at the hub who owes me a favor. The kind of guy who asks very few questions about where you're going or why. You're suggesting we steal a ship. I'm suggesting we borrow a ship for an indefinite period," Alex corrected. "There's a difference," Maya laughed, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. "This is insane. We could die out there, we could get arrested. We could finish what we started," Alex interrupted gently. "We could help Kira save her species. We could be the bridge between worlds. Just like she said." "When did you become such an optimist?" "When I decided that some rules are worth breaking," he replied, pulling her close. "When I realized that the universe put me exactly where I needed to be, even if it took losing everything to figure that out." The trade hub was a sprawling mess of docking platforms and black market vendors. Exactly the kind of place where 2 disgraced officers could disappear if they wanted to. Alex's contact turned out to be a grizzled old pilot named Kai, who looked them over with sharp, assessing eyes. "Epsilon sector," Kai repeated, scratching his graying beard. "That's past the boundary markers. Beyond any patrol routes, is that a problem?" Maya asked. Kai grinned, revealing several gold teeth. "Problem, no. Expensive, yes." They negotiated for the better part of an hour, trading the last of their credits and a few pieces of station equipment Maya had technically stolen on their way out. Finally, Kai led them to his ship, a battered but serviceable vessel that looked like it had seen better decades. "She's not pretty," Kai admitted, "but she flies true and the nav computer is top of the line. You'll need that where you're going." As they prepared for departure, loading supplies and running pre-flight checks, Maya caught Alex watching her with an expression she'd never seen before, soft and open and full of something that looked a lot like love. "What?" she asked, moving to stand beside him. "Just thinking about how my career counselor told me that following protocol was the path to success," he said, wrapping an arm around her waist. "Pretty sure she never mentioned that breaking every rule in the book might be the path to actual happiness." "Happiness," Maya tested the word. "Is that what this is?" Among other things, Alex murmured. Kissing her temple. Happiness, purpose, partnership, love. All the things I didn't know I was missing until I met a stubborn xenobiologist who made me question everything I thought I believed. "Love," Maya repeated softly, turning to face him fully. "Yeah," Alex said, cupping her face in his hands. "Love, I love you, Maya Chen. I love your reckless curiosity and your brilliant mind. I love that you made me remember why I joined the service in the first place. To explore, to discover, to make a difference." Tears pricked at Maya's eyes. "I love you too," she whispered. "Even when you're being irritatingly by the book. Even when you drive me crazy with protocols and procedures." "Not so by the book anymore," he pointed out. "No," she agreed. "Not anymore." They launched 3 hours later, leaving the trade hub behind and setting course for the Epsilon sector. As stars stretched into lines around them, and the ship's drives hummed with power, Maya pulled up Kira's coordinates and overlaid them with her own memories of that final connection. There, she said, pointing to a specific region of space. A planet in a binary star system, mostly ocean with a few volcanic islands. How long? Alex asked. 2 weeks at maximum burn, longer if we want to be careful. Careful seems overrated at this point, Alex replied, adjusting their course. Maximum burn it is. Those 2 weeks became a journey of discovery in more ways than one. During the day, they worked together on plans for the expedition, studying everything they knew about Kira's species and biology, preparing for the moment when they would finally uncover the archive. During the nights, they explored the boundaries of their new relationship, learning each other's rhythms and desires, falling deeper into something that felt inevitable and right. When they finally emerged from faster-than-light travel in the Epsilon sector, the planet hung before them exactly as Maya had seen in her vision, beautiful and strange, with purple-tinged oceans and islands that glowed with volcanic heat. There, Maya pointed to a specific island. That's where she hid it. They descended through the atmosphere, landing on a beach of black sand that sparkled with crystalline deposits. The air was thick and warm, smelling of sulfur and something sweet like Kira's planet had smelled. Together, they made their way inland, following Maya's memories until they reached a cave mouth carved into volcanic rock. Inside, the archive waited exactly as Kira had left it, a structure of living crystal and biological technology, pulsing with faint light that painted the cave walls in shades of purple and silver. Within it, Maya could see countless seeds and genetic samples, the preserved hope of an entire civilization. We found it, she breathed. Alex squeezed her hand. Now what? Now, Maya said, pulling out her communication device and activating the beacon that would call Kira home. Now we wait and hope. The response came 3 days later, Kira's ship appearing in orbit like a dream made solid. When she landed and emerged, her purple skin glowing with health and joy, Maya felt tears streaming down her face. Kira ran to them, and this time there was no hesitation. She pulled Maya into an embrace that was physical and mental, sharing her gratitude and hope and the overwhelming relief of a burden finally lifted. You came, Kira said when they finally pulled apart. You remembered? How could I forget, Maya replied. Kira turned to Alex, studying him with those silver-flecked eyes. You are Bridgewalker too, she said softly. Bridge between old life and new, between fear and courage. You are a good pair. Yeah, Alex agreed, slipping his arm around Maya's waist. We really are. They helped Kira load the archive onto her ship, working together in the growing darkness as the planet's twin suns set below the horizon. When everything was secure, Kira turned to them one final time. My people will live, she said, emotion thick in her voice, because of you, because you chose hope over fear, connection over isolation. You have given us future. What will you do now, Maya asked. Find others, Kira replied. Other survivors scattered among stars. Rebuild, grow new gardens, remember old ones, and I will tell them story of humans who helped when they did not have to, who risked everything for strangers. We'll be out here, Alex said, exploring, discovering, helping where we can. If you ever need anything, I know where to find you. Kira finished with a smile. Bridgewalkers leave trails for others to follow. They watched her ship lift off, carrying its precious cargo toward whatever future awaited her people. As the light from her engines faded into the stars, Maya leaned against Alex and looked up at the infinite universe spread out above them. So, she said, what do we do now? Alex laughed, pulling her close and kissing the top of her head. Whatever we want, he replied. No rules, no regulations. Just us and the universe and infinite possibilities. I like the sound of that. Me too. They stood there on that alien beach. Two people who'd lost everything except what truly mattered. Two people who'd learned that the greatest discoveries weren't always made in laboratories or recorded in official reports. Sometimes they were made in the space between heartbeats, in the choice to reach out across impossible divides, in the courage to build bridges where only walls had existed before. And somewhere far above them, traveling through the vast darkness between stars, a purple-skinned woman carried the genetic legacy of her people toward a new beginning, her heart full of gratitude for the bridgewalkers who'd reminded her what it meant to hope, to trust, to believe that even in the coldest depths of space, connection was possible, love was possible. The universe was full of wonders, but the greatest wonder of all was simply this: finding someone willing to explore it with you. Hand in hand, heart to heart, no matter what rules stood in your way. The end.